Hi guys, in this video I would like to explain you the FBI method. So the FBI method stands for frequency band integrity, and it means the integrity of the different frequency bands you have in your mix or your mastering. Basically you can use this FPI method to either verify whether your mix is quite in a good shape to be developed for the mastering process, or as a mastering engineer, you can use the method to figure out what to do and if the song, the mix, is ready for the mastering process, or if the mastering engineer would run into trouble. Why is it so important? It's because if the overall balance of a mix is not in shape, let's say you have not enough bass because of your monitoring situation or whatsoever, you can correct it. If you have too little highs, but in the highs is everything fine, so the balance between everything which lives in the highs, your synth, your uh, cymbals, your sibilants and everything, you can crank it up and you can keep everything into a nice shape. So sometimes in the mastering you can get use of MS techniques to separate things from each other, but your leverage as a mastering engineer is not that great when the frequency band integrity of the single different bands are not in shape. And over the time I have figured out, when I receive mixes for mastering and I listen to mix for the first time, it appears that the mix could sound great and I think, oh, I have an easy time to succeed. But then down the road it may happen that at the end of the song I have a chime going crazy, being too high and level, and the high structure of the rest of the song is not high enough, and then I would have trouble. I would run into trouble because I can't control the chimes without compromising the other highs of the rest of the song. And if I don't take care of that and I would crank up the highs, the chimes would get crazy and get too loud. And this happens for all areas. I can give you a few examples what to listen to and what kind of problems to avoid. So let me start with bass. So when the balance between your kick and your bass is not in shape, you just have a tiny range as a mastering engineer where you can correct it. But the range is not super high, and sometimes it happens that, let's say, the bass is 8 dB too low and you have such a great lack of warmth and it's hidden almost in the whole thing, and you can't deal with that. So you would want to listen just to the bass area and figure out that the bass and the kick is in a nice balance. And when it comes to the mid-range, I'll give you another example for something which would not work. Let's say you have a boomy acoustic guitar having boominess in the 200 hertz area, and the breeze of your lead vocal is not enough. You would want to support that. Then you would support the lead vocal and the guitar would get out of control. Stuff like that. The mid-range is usually not so problematic. I don't have typical things, so the variation of possibilities of keeping things not in balance in the mid-range is quite too big. However, when it comes to the highs, you definitely need to make sure that the balance between the highs of the vocals and the highs of the cymbals, etc., is in a good balance, so that you can act on that, and you need to make sure that there's no harshness in that area. And when you focus on that area separately, you have an easier time to detect this kind of harshness. So how would you do that? So as a professional listener, as a professional mixing engineer and mastering engineer, you can just listen to the song and you would check that at once. But when you're not at that point by now, you can get use of a multiband compressor. Simply take a multiband compressor. You would want to use one with relatively steep crossover filters, something like 24 dB per octave or even steeper. And then you simply solo the band and you just listen to the song or through a part of the song, and you make sure that the balance is in shape and you have an easier time to focus your hearing on this area and what is happening in this area. And you train your ability of selective listening. And then you go on to the mid-range and you will hear things you haven't heard before because they were covered in the other stuff. And mask, but as a professional mixing engineer, over the time you learn to detect it. You almost smell when something is wrong in the lower mid-range. And if you listen to the lower mid-range in solo mode in a multiband compressor, you all of a sudden hear, oh damn, something is wrong with the vocals, there are too many resonances, etc. And then you continue to the mid-range. The mid-range is quite important because, yeah, smartphones and all smaller listening devices always have a good mid-range, so you need to make sure that the mid-range is quite in a nice shape. And by listening to the mid-range, you possibly figure out, oh damn, there's not so much going on. I could use the space to fill in something else or to support that area. And you go on and go on and go on. And if you do that a few times, then you have a relatively easy time to learn this analytic listening. And yeah, you simply uh, become able to, yeah, not need to use a multiband compressor any longer or a multiband tool to do this verification. You can do it just right away. So frequency band integrity is very crucial, and what is crucial too is that you make sure that this frequency band integrity works through the whole song from the very beginning to the end. So I hope this tip has helped you quite a little bit, and possibly we see each other here. Bye.